So you're not going to be sitting on your bottom all day. Okay? You will be up and you will be moving. You'll be doing activities. You will be using different mediums like pens, colouring in pencils. Get a bit arty. Okay? Alright, arrive and finish class on time. We start at 9 o'clock. Okay? We've got a very small number of students, so I should have a room full here, and people haven't turned up. So it's very important you turn up. Every time you turn up late, you miss a chunk of learning. I always talk to my students and say, well, how much are people paying every week to come to and study? $100. Is that what you guys' fees are? $100 a week? More or less? Sorry. How much are your fees a week to study? A week, yeah. What term? How much do you pay a term?
$2,500.
Oh, and it's 10 weeks in a term. You're paying $200 a week. Now, if you had two $100 notes, would you rip them up and throw them out the window? Would you? No. If you would come to class, you might as well be doing it. Okay? So if you guys spend a lot of money in fees, you've got to get your money's worth. You've got to come to class. Otherwise, you might as well rip your money out and throw it out the window because you're wasting it. So, turning up to class on time is very important. You need to be respectful. Now, you guys have been studying for at least a year now, is that right? Year and a half? So, that's one of the principles of community services. We are respectful people. We are courteous. And I expect exactly the same behaviour from students. We need to be honest and trustworthy. And when we get a little bit closer to our assessments, I'll be talking about our academic procedures, okay, as far as academic misconduct goes. It's been a big issue, so I want to make sure that doesn't happen in this class. We need to respect each other, participate in class activities. Okay? This is where you're going to learn a lot. The way I set my classes up is we do a chunk of learning, we watch 2 or 3 videos that help us understand that learning, and then we do an activity, we practice. Okay? So that's the way my class is set up, so it's important that you participate in all those activities. And finally, I will ask you to clean up any rubbish and to tuck your chair at the end of the day. Okay? Any comments or thoughts about that? Is that unrealistic, do you think? No, it's quite realistic. And I abide by that as well. I also have a code of conduct as a community worker and as a trainer. Okay, let's look at the unit. Okay, community development. So this unit describes the skills and knowledge required to work with individuals and groups and the community to identify issues and develop cooperative processes to facilitate change. One thing these units do is use a lot of words. Okay, as you can see, that's a lot of words. But basically what we're talking about here is working with individuals, groups and communities to promote change. Change for better. Okay, community development is one of my favourite. Well, I'll probably say that about more community services subjects, but I do like community development. Okay, and it applies to workers in both health and community services and a community development work context. Most of the time now, and be aware, you guys are doing a diploma, that's an AQF level of 5. So the expectation is when you graduate, you would have the ability to operate as a team leader, a manager, or a supervisor. Okay, so at this level, you'll be part of a team and you may have the responsibility of supervising others. Okay, this isn't a certificate 3 or a certificate 4, this is a diploma. The expectation is that you will become a leader, a manager, or a supervisor. So you have a team of staff under you. Okay, this particular unit has 4 topics. Work with individuals and groups to identify issues. Work with groups to establish cooperative processes. Support group processes and skill development. And then finally, something that you've probably come across in a number of units, which is your reflection. Reflect on practice. And that's a very important skill of community services work, being able to reflect on what we do and identify ways to improve. Okay, assessments, which I know you will all love to know about. Okay, the first one, which is due at the end of week 2, which you have, I'm sure, completed numerous times, is your assessment plan and agreement form. Yeah. Okay, download it. Just make sure the boxes are ticked because sometimes they get uploaded and I can't see the boxes and have to send them back. If you do not complete this, you will not be able to pass them. Okay, so you've got to do it. It takes 10 minutes just to get it done. Okay, we have 3 assessments. The first assessment is questions, and it's due at the end of week 6. We then have more questions and assessment 2 based on a case study. Okay, that's due at the end of week 7. And then we have our community development, we have our observations, which will be held between week 7 and 10. Okay? Very important, you must attend 50% of class until the end of week 6 to be eligible for assessment 3. And the reason for that is that the role plays, meetings, simulated activities, and if you don't come to class, you're not going to know what to do. And you're not going to have that learning content. Okay, so 50% of class until the end of week 6. Okay, I will help you prepare for these assessments. That's my job, to get you through these units. So, we will go through every single assessment before they're due as a group. In week 4, we're going to review assessment 1. In week 5, we'll review assessment 2. And then in week 6, we'll review assessment 3. And what I do is I'll pull up the assessment, particularly the written ones, and I'll highlight the important parts of the question. Okay? So we will prepare, and starting in week 4. Okay, what are we going to cover today? The agenda. We are going to cover topic 1.1 to 1.2. These slides have been developed specifically based on your Learn Guide. Okay, it runs in parallel with your Learn Guide. So if you come to class every week, you probably don't even need to open your book unless you're going to do your assessment. You know what I mean? Because everything in that book is what we cover in class. If you miss a week of class, you miss a big chunk of learning. Okay, so today we're going to look at what is community. Okay, we use that word all the time, community, but what does it actually mean? We're going to look at types and processes of community development, approaches and considerations, and then we're going to look at the interpersonal skills we use when we work with individuals, groups and communities. And these are things I'm sure that you've addressed before in numerous other units. Empathy. I'm going to show you the best video today about empathy. Ever heard of an empathy museum? Oh, you have?
Yesterday class.
Oh, good. Okay. Questioning skills, active listening, body language, group work. Yep, sorry. Active listening, body language, group work, working with individuals and groups, and then considering how we involve our community. So quite a bit to get through today. Okay. So, community and community development. What is community? We use the term all the time. So, a community is a small or large unit. It can be different sizes. Community can be as small as 15 people, 10 people. So it can be large or small, and it's a social unit. And it has to have something in common. And it's quite often norms, religion, values, or identity. What we often see is that communities often share a sense of place. It's situated in a given geographical area. Okay, so where do you live in Sydney?
East Lakes.
East Lakes? Yeah, what about you? Rockdale, I know Rockdale, right over the plains. Kempsey? Yeah.
Linfield.
Linfield.
Tarawina.
Wow. Okay, so very big area. So, tell me, think about your community that you live in. Oh, sorry, I didn't ask you. Where do you live? Campbelltown. I know Campbelltown very well. Okay. Brother-in-law used to be the mayor of Campbelltown. Okay. All right. So often they share a sense of commonality of place. Okay. Think about your community in Rockdale or in Campbelltown. Do people feel connected to their community?
Yeah.
you know anyone in your community apart from your family? No? You do? Good. Yes, so you've had a few people in your community. Most people say they probably don't. Okay, they have their family and that's it. All right. Okay. So the other community that we can have, it's not just a geographical area, it can also be a virtual space. Is anyone a gamer? Anyone play games? Do you have a group that you play with?
Yeah.
That's a community. Does anyone play sport? Anyone play sport on the weekends? Have you met a lot of people through sport? That's a community. Anyone volunteer? I'm a member of the SES, the State Emergency Service, and I have met so many people through that. And that's a community as well. Okay. Anyone, what do you do? What do you guys do for entertainment? What do you do lads? What do you do for yourself? Do you have anything special that you do? You play sport? Yeah. Sports as well? Yeah, so it's very sporty. Been watching the cricket?
Yeah.
Oh, me too. I love the cricket. I get a bit carried away. I was so glad to see West Indies win that second test. They deserve that. What do you guys do for pleasure?
Go to Bagada.
Pardon?
Go to Bagada. Bagada.
The garden.
Go to the church.
Church.
Bagada.
Sorry, I'm missing what you're saying.
Sometimes at the weekend we
Yep.
go to volunteer in the church.
In the church. Excellent. Okay, so you've met a whole pile of people through that?
Yeah.
Good. What do you do for entertainment or for pleasure?
Eating out.
Eating out. All right, it's always good to eat out. What about you guys? Anything special in your lives? Oh, you like eating out? Anything to do with food? Yeah. Good. Where do you go? What do you do? Go to movies? Yeah, movies is cool. Okay, lots of new movies coming out this year. Okay, so community can be geographical, it can be virtual, but there has to be some common thing that puts you all together. Okay. Quite often it's a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. There's something in common. And it could be a group of people living together and practicing common ownership. Anyone heard of communes? Hippie communes up in Byron Bay? A group of people all live on 100 acres and try and be self-sufficient. They live in a commune. Okay, so that's another area. It's a group of people living together, sharing ownership of this land. Okay. Now this is an important slide, okay? Because this tells you the different types of community. Okay, so here's some examples. A community is a place where people live, work and have fun together. It could be rural, country, which is where I live. Okay, I live in a very, well, it's actually not a small town now, but it's compared to cities, it's very small. You know, I have 20,000. I live in Bathurst. Campbelltown's massive. Yeah, I don't know what I do know is last week Australia's population hit 27 million. 27 million. We've been floating around 23, 24, 25 even for years. The last couple of years we've just gone whoosh. 27 million in Australia. So 27 million. Where do you think most of the people live in Australia? Where do most people live in Australia? They live in a country town like mine. They live in the cities, and the cities are generally on the coast. And that's where the majority of our population is. So that's very urban. And then your little towns that you live in are suburban. But the different types of community, I want you to look at this carefully. There's 5 words here that are highlighted in black. Interest, action, place, practice, or circumstance. So, interest. So, a community can be a group of people who have who share the same interest or passion. Like your gamers. You have a passion for gaming, you have a virtual community because you have that shared interest. I'm a volunteer for the State Emergency Service. I go out, fight fires, cut down trees, do all that stuff. I have a community in that particular group. And our passion or interest is to help others in times of crisis. So there's a shared interest, action. Okay. What I like about community development is action orientation. It's about getting things done, making changes. Yeah? And never underestimate the ability to make change. People often think, oh, it's only just me, I can't do anything. You can. And I'm going to show you a video that will highlight that. But action, communities of people trying to bring about change. They want to change something. Place, we talked about this. It's about geographical boundaries. Okay, so it's often tied by people in Campbelltown belong to a community. Where I live in Bathurst, we're part of the community, but it's geographical. Practice. Communities of people in the same profession or undertaking the same activities. And one of the things we do in community services is we do a lot of networking, interagency. We develop relationships with other providers. Okay, so that's part of a community of practice. And then circumstance. Sometimes people are just brought together because of circumstances or situations. Through, they might not wanted to be brought together, but because of what's happened, they have. So we're looking at the different types of community. We're looking at interest, action, place, practice, and circumstance. But what brings us all together, so every type of purpose is about bringing people together. All right, process of community. So community is something that happens between regular interaction between people. And we often help each other. You think about your community and you think about, particularly in Australia, we had so many natural disasters lately. And does anyone watch the news?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Most people don't. I'm just always interested in what. Do you guys watch the news at all? No? Be honest. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You watch the news at night? You listen to the radio, listen to the news? Okay, so you hear the news on the radio? Good. Yeah? Okay. Alright. Okay, so whenever there is a natural disaster, let's do anything you want to laugh about? You want to share what you're laughing about? No? Okay. Alright, so when we think about natural disasters in Australia, okay, the most recent one is the massive floods that we had in northern New South Wales. Queensland's just had a cyclone. Okay? Whenever you watch the news and they talk about what's happened, their houses are flooded or they've lost their houses through bushfire, often you'll hear them talk about the fact that what's got them through is that sense of community and the fact that people are linked with each other. You've got no clothes, your house has been burnt down, I'm your neighbour, here's some clothes. It's about helping each other. That's what happens in a community. Sharing ideas and skills. I'm teaching diversity in my year, and that's one of the things we've been talking about. You know, I'd hate to think that in a workplace or in a classroom, everybody looked the same, came from the same place, came from the same culture. Because you're not going to get those sharing of ideas and skills if people all think the same and behave the same. I've always preferred to have a room full of people like this. You're going to learn a lot more than just having one or two people. So it's about problem solving, sharing ideas and skills, organising different activities, and then coming together, meeting together. One of the things I'm sure you've looked at in other units is this whole issue of social isolation. People can live in a city like Sydney with 7 million people and be isolated. I ask that question, who knows their neighbours? Who do you know in your community? Not a lot. Okay, so process of community is about working together, helping each other, organising activities, and meeting together. Okay, right, let's have a little practice activity. Defining community. Okay, all right, can I have you join this group over here, please? And you three will be a group. Turn around and engage with each other. You're going to have two groups. Okay, as I said, you just keep moving around. So you guys either need to turn around or you need to face each other. You're a group. Okay. So Victoria, yeah.
You are a small
Okay.
person. No, you are.
I had so many things to carry. Normally I would have bought a lot of butcher's paper and all my coloured texters, but I had other stuff, so I didn't. Okay, in your group, first of all, you need to allocate a spokesperson. Who's going to speak on behalf of your group?
We got her. That's
No, no.
Oh, you guys got it out. Alright, so I want, who's going to be the spokesperson? Over here.
He's in.
Come on, guys. Now, if we can't just get someone to volunteer, I will do it for you. Who's going to be the spokesperson? Victoria, thank you. Next time, it'll be someone else. Okay? What have we got over here? You're going to be the spokesperson. Okay, next time, it will be someone else. I like to share these roles. It's not fair that one person does all the work. Okay, in your group, brainstorm. Now, this is when you need your pen and paper. Okay. People need a pen, paper. Okay. Boomerang pen, that's exactly right. Well done. Okay. Boomerang pen comes back. Sorry, I don't have my colours. I'll get those next week. Okay, in your group, brainstorm. What words can be used to describe community? Write it down on your paper. Talk as a group. Words to describe community. This is a brainstorm. No right or wrong answers in the brainstorm. It's about just thinking things through. Okay, as a group, what words can be used to describe community? As a group. Words to describe community. No Googling.
No.
You're not
We
Googling?
have written our words.
What do you got? 4 words. Okay, can you add any more? You guys done brainstorming, brain mapping before?
No. Tried sometimes.
You tried? Come on. All right, think of the word community. What does it bring to mind? Just giving it words that describe or define community.
People share their values, norms.
Yes, values.
There's some recreation area for recreation place where people recreation. Yeah, recreational like activity, like if you want to wine. Relationship, building relationship, family.
Relationship is very good.
It's also like relationship with the family and friends.
Just another minute on that.
Empowerment. Empowerment. Power is lifting other people to succeed. Goals. Yeah. Connecting people and share goals.
Okay, so we'll just wrap that up now. Got a bit of a list? Yeah? You're very quiet. Okay, all right, let's start with this group here. Okay, Newman, what have you got? Nice and loud so we can all hear it.
People, religion, culture, team, values, recreational activities, interests, neighborhood, society.
Good.
Excellent.
Pardon?
Crowd.
Crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, really good. Now, I love those words. You know, you talked about community,
Yeah.
you talked about team, neighbourhood, which is that whole geographical thing, and values. That's really good to hear. Well done. Well done.
Thank
Yay. All right. How do we go over here? Nice and loud.
We've got
Groups. Yeah.
culture, income, interest, friends, neighborhood, values, and norms.
Okay. Interesting. There's a lot of commonalities
Yeah.
there. Similar words, but that's what it's all about. So
Yeah.
community is it's a living thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's important that we all feel connected, whether it's the community we live in, whether it's our online gaming group, whether it's our soccer club or our cricket, our dancing, church. Good, okay, excellent. So we've put some really good words to describe community. So let's move on to the next thing. What is community development? Pretty common sense, okay? We know what community is. Development is developing our community. So that's what community development is about. It's a process. It's a process where community members come together to take collective action. They take action as a group, not individually, but as a group, collective action that generates solutions to common problems. Community development is a vision of how things can be done differently. It's about change. It's about identifying what's not working and what can we do to change it. And it's based on the principles, and this is important, it's based on the principles of empowerment. Now, you guys have been talking about empowerment for a year and a half, I would imagine. Okay? Empowerment is like a strengths-based approach supporting people. So it's empowerment through consultation. So consultation is a very important part of community development. We can't make change without consulting with people to identify what needs to change. And it's also in our environment, so depending on the community we live in. So it's about coming together to take collective action and solve problems, generate solutions. Okay, the other thing is we're the most disadvantaged voices in our community are heard and taken into account. Think about a lot of community groups. You think of client groups we work with in community services, age, disability, mental health, older people, all of those
Childcare.
things. Pardon?
Child.
Childcare, yeah, child protection. Yeah. They're the most disadvantaged groups we have. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, minorities, refugees, and quite often they're not heard. They don't have a voice. That's our job. We're their voice. That's how we live. We are their voice. And it's based on the belief that people can gain control of their own lives by organising collectively. Our disadvantaged groups are generally powerless and voiceless. But in community development, the philosophy or the principle is that people can gain control of their lives. They can make their lives better through working together. And that belief is really important because we're working with disadvantaged, voiceless groups. We have to have faith and belief that they can control their own lives and make changes. I don't need to come back to you. We're doing that. Okay. What are the benefits of community development? What's the good stuff? Okay. Empowerment and self-determination. Okay, self-determination is so important. The other benefits is that collective action, working together as a group collectively. It also creates a tolerance so that people accept and encourage diversity. The benefits of community development is that it's working for change. development allows access to community services, provides social justice. So those groups of people who are voiceless and powerless will get some justice. And finally, objectivity and impartiality. Okay, principles of community development. Okay, I mentioned a few of them. Very much about engagement. Okay, if you are working with a group of people to create change, you actually have to engage with them and ask them. It's about participation, sustainability. So there's no use making something change if it's not going to stay like that. So you want it to continue. It's about respect, honesty, transparency, and access to information. So they're the principles from which we operate within community development. Okay. So community well-being. When we talk about well-being of a community, we're looking at a number of different factors. It's the economic, it's the social, environmental, and cultural. Okay, so if you were going to score yourselves on your well-being out of 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, where would you place yourself today, right now? 6? 7? 7? Your well-being today, how do you feel? 10 being really, really good, 1 being really bad. 6? 6?
6.
Okay, alright. Interesting. Every time I do this activity with a group of students, it always surprises me how low people rate their well-being. We've only had 2 people that said 7, everyone else was 6. That's just over half. Okay, I would always prefer to see them much higher, and I'll work on some of those strategies and tactics. But well-being is so important. Okay? If you're feeling terrible, you're not going to get to class. You're not going to participate. You're not going to learn. You'll have closed ears. You'll have closed eyes. So it's very important that you look after your well-being, and that's part of our self-care. I know you've covered that in lots of other minutes. But community well-being takes into account economic, social, environmental, and cultural. And it often evolves from this type of collective action. So basically, community well-being can improve with community development. And what it's saying here is the grassroots level. And when they talk about grassroots level, they're talking about the ground. They're talking about members of the community. They're not talking about the politicians. They're not talking about the CEOs or the general managers. They are talking about people at the grassroots level, members of your community. Yeah. So community development can improve community well-being. Okay. Community development approaches. Okay, so there's quite a few different approaches, and it does depend on what client group we're working with. But if we want to create change at a community level in relation to social issues, we need to take on community development. When working with Aboriginal communities, anyone doing Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Cultural Safety Unit this term, have you guys done that?
No.
No? Okay. Have you done diversity?
Yes.
Done diversity, but Aboriginal is not in your unit. That's not in your course, I don't think. I don't know. Anyway, but working with Aboriginal communities is a whole different story. Okay, these are probably one of the most disadvantaged groups in Australia. And the idea when working with Aboriginal communities is that you support their self-determination. Their self-determination, they should have control over their lives. Not me, not the politician, not the government, the people. So that's what we're doing when we're looking at an approach of community development, self-determination. And we'll use community development when there's a long-term commitment. We want to change something and commit to change. Okay, when don't we use community? Okay. Alright. When we're focused on the individual and not community. If we are working with one-on-one people, that's this afternoon's conversation, advocacy and representation. Here, we're talking about community development, so we're working with communities. So we don't work with individuals, we work with groups and communities. it's no use implementing a community development approach if your organisation has already decided what they're going to do. Okay, they might have decided there's a community issue and they make the decision about what they're going to do about it. That's not favourable, that's not consultative, that's not encouraging our clients to have a voice. And the other thing, don't do community development if we've got short-term funding. And if we've been funded for a 3-month project, it's going to be very hard to create a community development initiative because we want that to last. So if it's short-term, or we have a very tight time frame, we're not going to use community development. Community development takes time. It doesn't happen in a day or a week. Okay. Right, so we're working with communities primarily, that's why it's called community development. So we need to consider our community. Okay, who makes up the community? This is what you need to question and ask yourself. Okay? I know, for example, in Bathurst, our community, we have a high number of Aboriginal people there. So whenever I'm doing community development in Bathurst, I have to take that into consideration. So you always need to ask yourself, if you're working with a community, what's the demographics? Who makes it up? Okay, so if you've got, for example, a community that has 95% Mandarin speaking clients, you would ideally have some staff who speak Mandarin. Or information you give to clients is translated into their language. Okay, so these are the things you need to consider. What community issues are we going to work on? Okay, have a think about your own community that you live in now or your home community. Can you think of any issues in your community that are a problem or need changing?
Like it's getting very cold when
Pardon?
it's getting very cold.
It's getting cold.
Yeah.
All right, well, you need to stand up and start moving around. Do you want to come stand out here?
No, like that. You turn off.
Yeah, I can't control the air conditioner. That's controlled centrally at the front office. Okay, you got a jumper? Do you need a little rain cap? Okay. Sorry, I can't help you with the cold. I actually think it's quite hot. All right. So, what issues are we going to work on? Okay. What issues have you got in your community? Your home community or the community you live in now? Can you identify any issues?
In my home, like
Yes.
you,
I think. What about here? Can you think of any issues that you have in your community? At home or here? What needs to change? Is your community perfect? I've never met a community that's perfect. I've never met a perfect person that's perfect. Does anyone have issues with drugs and alcohol?
At home.
At home or here?
Here.
Well, you tell me.
Because we're just only immigrants here, so we're not aware of what's happening around
Okay,
us.
all right,
That's why
think about your
we mentioned-
hometown then.
Yeah.
Okay, think about your hometown if that makes it easier. Any issues in your hometown? Homelessness, youth, vandalism,
yes.
drug and alcohol, mental health.
Health, poverty.
Health?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any issues? What can you pardon?
Poverty.
Sorry?
Poverty.
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 Well done. Good. Okay. We can change things. Poverty. What about you in the Philippines?
In the Philippines, seemed like what they said, poverty,
Poverty,
vandalism. The
Vandalism.
youth like easily they are exposed with the drugs.
Drugs.
Children, yeah, even at
Child
the younger
protection.
age, yeah.
Domestic
Early
violence,
pregnancy.
oh, that's even good. See, this is all these things are coming out now when you start thinking about homelessness. Sorry, unemployment. Excellent. Well done. Well done. Good. Okay, this is what I'm going to get you to do. I need you to participate. It's the way you're going to learn. Okay, homelessness. Anyone have issues with homelessness in their towns? Okay, drugs and alcohol. Domestic violence. Child protection. Quite often you won't see that one.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
that's what I was
obvious.
gonna say. Domestic violence. child
Behind
protection,
closed doors. Okay, but as you can see, every community can identify areas of concern. Yeah. All right, so what are the issues we're going to work on? Well, we're going to identify what the issues are in our community. It's no use us deciding what the issues are. We have to consult with our community and ask them. And then we might find out that there is family and domestic violence, there is child protection. Okay, what skills do the community hold? Now, this is a really important thing. If we're doing community development, we need to empower everyone that's involved, and we do that through skill development. We're going to do an activity next week, I think, where we're going to do an analysis of our class community and work out what skills we have and what skills we don't have. Okay? But we need to know what the skills are of our community. Part of our role is to build those skills. And then what do they lack? Okay, so sometimes there'll be skill gaps. Most of the time there'll be skill gaps. Okay? So these are the things we need to ask. Who makes up the community? What are the issues? What skills do our community hold? And what skills do they need to develop? I don't like that word, do they lack? That's fun. Okay, oh, cool. Let's watch video. Okay, we're going to watch a couple of videos now, and then we might take a break. Okay, so the first one we're going to watch is called What is Community Development? So just let me explain how I set the videos up. As I mentioned, we do a chunk of learning, we generally do a bit of a practice, and then we watch some videos. I'm very particular about the videos I show. So for me to develop and show the videos, I will watch 10 before I find the one I want. Wherever possible, I will always use Australian videos, but there are times that I just can't find them. So if that's the case, we'll always use videos from countries that are similar to ours as far as the community services sector go. New Zealand, Canada, United States, United Kingdom, Scotland, Ireland, all of those places. So where possible, always use Australian videos. Sometimes that just doesn't happen. Most of our videos go between 1 and 4 minutes. First one is just over 3 minutes. And it seems, just the description, it's a brief introductory video to help understand what community development is. And it's based heavily on a person's experience working in community. And then the other one is the framework, the community development framework. And this is a First Nations approach, so the Indigenous people's approach to community development, and it just talks about the framework that it is. Okay, so let me just hope that this works.
The Aussie Angus Deluxe is back.
So we've got a new system, I'm just trying to work it all out. Alright, let's switch that up.
And that's a blank expression.
Two things.
All that must be what is community development. Both responses tell me words, they don't community and development. And that's a good place to start. Let's start with community development. What is community? Words, community. There are two connected ideas. Let's start with community.
Okay, sorry about that. Normally I have everything set up, all my videos set up, so I just have to click and they're already prepared, but this new system I can pop up to that there.
When people ask me what I do for a job, and I tell them community development, the response is one of two things. Either a blank expression, or that must be interesting. Both responses tell me they don't know what community development is, and that's a good place to start. What is community development? Two words, community and development. Let's start with community. What is community? There are two connected ideas. A community can be a geographical location, such as where I live, my neighbourhood, suburb, town, region. It can also be something more. It can be based on the relationships we have with each other and a sense of belonging. is about connection. Both ideas of geographical location and the set of relationships are important and related. Where we live, work and play can provide us with connection with others outside of our home. This connection improves our well-being. But there are other communities that aren't in a geographical location. It can also be a virtual community, one where relationships are maintained through technological means. Community really is about a shared identity between people. What is development? We're not talking about physical buildings. We're talking about development as change and improvement, a process of growth. So let's put them together. Community and development. People with a sense of connection working towards positive change. The change is about improving the social, economic and environmental sustainability of the community. It's big. It aims at communities achieving social justice, equality, fair access to resources and opportunities. It can involve the community development practitioners, government agencies and other services. It is about achieving positive change. It can be a partnership with communities or led by the community. The International Association of Community Development describes community development as a practice-based profession and an academic discipline that promotes participative democracy, sustainable development, rights, economic opportunity, equality, particularly structural inequalities related to gender, race, disability, class, age and sexual orientation, and social justice through the organisation, education and empowerment of people within their communities, whether these be of locality, identity or interest, in urban and rural settings. Community development is broad. There are many approaches to community development, and common to all is the empowerment of community to create positive change.
Okay. Working together to create positive change. Now I'm going to try the next one. Okay, so this is about the community development framework.
In January of 2024, thousands of students are going to get their ATAR and then miss out on the university course which they want to get into. So if you've got a student who's going into year 9, 10, 11 or 12 in 2024, you're going to want to attend this 1 hour webinar which we've got coming up. It's all about showing you an easier way to study. When I was in year 11, I worked hard, I wanted to do well, but often I get very average results. It wasn't until I learned these strategies that I realised there was an easier way to study. I used them and I finished year.
Sorry. Okay, so this is the community development framework. Now this is the CEO of an organisation about community development.
Avi, I'm the CEO of Community First Development, and I'm coming to you today on the Ngunnawal Ngambri country, and I pay my respects to the traditional custodians of this land where I live and work and raise a family. And I want to acknowledge the elders of this place, my elders, and the elders of the place that you are on, and the traditional custodians of all the land and sea countries right around Australia. Our community development framework is a cycle of understanding, engagement, co-design, delivery and reflection. It's an evidence and strength-based approach built on our 20 years of experience working alongside Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and communities. We know community development isn't a quick fix to addressing disadvantage. It takes time, and it's a collaborative effort. It's a planned, long-term process. Our approach to working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities is centred on self-determination. Communities right around Australia invite us to create partnerships with them to achieve great things for their communities. We meet together to listen, yarn, plan and connect skilled volunteers with the community to get things done. Projects are always determined and led by community.
Okay, so a couple of videos is just reinforcing what we've already learned, okay? What community development is and the frameworks. Okay, one quick activity and then we will have a break. Okay, on your piece of paper, grab a pen or type it. I want you to write down all the community groups that you're involved in. What community groups are you involved in? We talked about it a little bit earlier. Write it down or type it. Maybe you guys talked about your sport clubs.
Yeah.
Okay, write it down. Gaming. Yeah. I would expect that people would have quite a few different community groups. Now, don't forget this class. This is a community group. Okay, you are a community. So definitely your class. And then you could go even further at college because I'm sure you associate with other people outside of your class. Could be sporting, could be church-based, could be volunteering, sport. I play this card game called Bridge, and I play Bridge once a week, once a fortnight, and I have a whole community group there. It's a group of people I would never normally interact with, but we have one thing in common, is we enjoy playing this really silly, complicated card game. Okay, so has everyone got a list of the community groups that they're involved in? Once you've got a bit of a list, I want you to select one community group out of your list. And I want you to think about what are the benefits of belonging to that group. Why do you belong to that group? What do you get out of it? Those lights back on, sorry. You guys like the lights on or off? Oh. Is it better on? Okay. Right, here we go backwards. Let's start with Dazzle. Can you tell us about one of your community groups you're involved in? And what are the benefits? Excuse me, what's the benefit of being involved in it?
Way back home,
Any group, community group. So tell us which group first, and then tell us what the benefits are of belonging to that group.
before I am in a health under health group, like in our community, so in a health center community.
Health center?
Yeah. So before I started joining them, I voluntarily, help them to having a session with other youth, children, and parents.
So what's the benefit of you being involved in that group? I want to hear what the benefit is
Benefits for
you
me.
being involved in your health group.
So I learned from that experience, and I developed myself from
Good.
even in spiritually, physically, mentally.
Excellent.
emotionally.
Okay, good. So there's obviously a lot of advantages to being involved in that group. Okay, what about you, Yen? What group have you got?
I volunteer in Vincent de Paul.
At Vincent de Paul?
Yep.
You're a volunteer?
Yep.
What's the benefit of you doing that?
They give me training online for recruit employer. Yep.
And what about working with other people and clients?
We working with hiring for staff,
Yep.
volunteering, and get a new knowledge and
Knowledge and
Yep.
skills. Excellent. Good. Okay, what about here? Okay, this is a hard name, sorry. Anu, all right. Anu, what group are you talking about? What group are you involved in, Anu?
I worked in the SBA and from that, I worked with different people working there.
Okay.
And I met with different presidents and they just messing and they kind of motivate me.
Motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, so working in aged care inspires you and motivates you. What a wonderful benefit. Fantastic. Okay, Victoria.
So I've chosen the Presidio community.
Yeah.
In Sydney.
Nice.
So I think because we all the same boat. So
Common-
it gives
commonalities.
yeah, help each other, and then it's good to have some sense of family and back from back home.
Good.
Yeah, it's good.
Sounds like there's lots of benefits. So, you've got that companionship, you're not isolated, you've got the cultural connections. Excellent. Great. Okay, what about over here, guys? What group are you going to choose?
Sports community.
Your sports community. What sport do you play?
I play cricket.
Oh, good. All right. What's the benefits of playing cricket? Of being part of that group?
Benefits of playing cricket are
Like being part of the community of cricket?
being part of community. As like most of them are from Pakistan.
Yeah.
And they are senior. They share their experience with us. And
Okay.
we maybe sometimes get together.
Socially?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So, but similar. So it's that social engagement, you're making new friends, you have that commonality of culture. Great. Excellent. Okay, what about you? What group are you going to choose? What sport do you play? Cricket? Do you play the same team? Okay. Okay.
So like it's same like gives an opportunity to interact with same people who have same interests. So it gives a companionship. And people are from same community. So it's good to have connections with them. Because it's always helpful.
Excellent. Good. And that's exactly what I want to hear. And every single one of you were able to identify the benefits of belonging to a group. And if we're getting benefits from belonging to a group, our clients will as well. Okay, well done. Let's have a break. It is it's 10:33. Can we please meet back here at 11 a.m.